yourselves, and thank you everyone who came today for our first Meet the Experts in Cambodia. So I've done this before with Mauro in Vietnam, and he always gives me these funny topics, and I think it's because he's Italian and he translates to English. So when he said alternative brands, traditional versus alternative brands, I wasn't really sure what to talk about today. But I wanted to sort of use some of an anecdote and some of the experience that I've had coming to Cambodia for the past 12 years. And when I first started coming 12 years ago, I was working for a much smaller operator with a much lesser known brand. And so the big challenge was always, teaching people about the brand and trying to convince them that, we knew what we were doing and the brand was actually good. And then when I joined Hilton, I thought, all of that trouble is going to be gone. But then to my surprise, when I started coming to Cambodia again 4 years ago, everyone knows Hilton, but they didn't know any of our other brands. And at Hilton, we actually have 14 brands. So for me, I sort of wanted to talk about a bit more to demystify the idea of old brand, new brand, and I don't know this brand, and Cambodia doesn't know that brand, and just talk a bit about that and how we deal with it at Hilton, which is actually a very big hotel company globally. I think we're going to begin with Wen giving us a brief just introduction to Hilton, the history of Hilton, and that way we'll get into the subject of brands.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm going to start off talking a little bit about the history of Hilton. Hilton started in 1919 when Conrad Hilton, our founder, purchased his first hotel in Texas. And in 1925, Conrad Hilton opened the Dallas Hilton, and this is the first hotel to carry the Hilton name. Subsequently, a lot of people think that Hilton has 14 brands and a lot of these are new brands, but that's not true. So I'm going to bring you through 3 brands that we have had, and they go a long way back. So in 1969, the first DoubleTree Hotel opened in Scottsdale. And this is a brand that might be relatively new to the Asia Pacific market. And Chris will share a little bit more about the history of how we grew the footprint of this brand quite exponentially since 2011, after we did a rebranding initiative to refresh the brand. And then in 1982, Conrad Hotels was founded with the goal of operating a network of luxury hotels and resorts in the world's major business and tourism capitals. In 1990, we launched our Hilton Garden Inn brand, which is a focused service brand in 4 locations, and subsequently expanded it quickly to more than 500 properties. So those are the 3 brands that what we consider more traditional brands. And as the market evolved, we innovated, we came up with new brands depending on what the market wanted. Therefore, in 2014, we launched 2 new brands. The first brand is Curio Collection by Hilton. Curio is what we call a collection brand made up of a number of unique hotels globally. Why we call it a collection brand is also because we call it a soft brand, meaning that the hotel retains its independent, unique identity, but at the same time, you have the Hilton enterprise behind it, supporting it, providing it with its commercial engine. So the hotel retains its identity, but it still benefits from all the engines such as our more than 70 million loyalty members, our sales and marketing engines, and so on and so forth. And we also launched our Canopy by Hilton brand, which is our lifestyle brand. Our Canopy by Hilton brand is a lifestyle brand that you would find in great neighborhoods. Because as Mauro mentioned earlier, people are using money to buy memories now. They want to go to a neighborhood, they want to experience something different, and they want to experience the local culture. That's how the brand was born. Then, in 2016, we launched our True by Hilton brand, which is a mid-scale brand that is reinventing the mid-scale market. So traditionally we have our Hampton brand, but True today really caters to our millennial segment. You will notice later on that it's a more fun brand with more vibrant colors. The lobby space is designed to enhance interaction between hotel guests. In 2017, we completed a spin-off of Park Hotel Resorts and our Hilton brand Vacations, which is our timeshare business. allowing us to be a lot more asset-light and to really focus on the management of hotels to bring value to our owners. In 2017, we launched our second collection brand called the Tapestry Collection by Hilton. This is similar to the Curio Collection by Hilton soft brand, but it is an upscale segment instead of in the upper upscale segment which the Curio sits in.
I think the funny thing here is actually these collection brands are essentially moving away from the concept of a big brand anyway. A collection brand is you have an independent hotel that you've created with your own concept, its own identity, and it fits well into the local market. And then you join the collection, which is like a basket of similar sort of properties, perhaps size and positioning, but all of them have their unique and own identity. And this is something that, again, I think Mauro touched on. Experiential travel, people don't want the same experience every time they go to a hotel. They want to experience different things. And so again, here, we're talking old brands, new brands, and almost moving away from brands.
Yeah, and in fact, since we launched the 3 new brands, we get a lot of feedback on TripAdvisors or even anecdotally that people realize that Hilton is not my grandfather's Hilton that they grew up staying in before, and it's evolved to be a much more vibrant brand in general. So today we have 14 brands comprising of more than 5,400 properties globally and nearly 880,000 rooms in 106 countries and territories. These are a snapshot of the 14 different brands that I had gone through earlier on. For luxury space, we have our Waldorf Astoria brand, which is typically our traditional luxury brand. But these days we're really focusing on providing guests with a more exclusive and experiential luxury stay at our hotel. We also have the Conrad brand, which is a more contemporary luxury brand. And we have the Canopy, which is the lifestyle brand. Of course, the Hilton, our flagship brand that you will find in key cities. You have the convention hotels, airport hotels, resorts, business hotels, and leisure hotels. Curio, which is our collection brand that we mentioned earlier. Doubletree, Chris will share a little bit more about that later. And then we have our focus service brands of Hilton Garden Inn, Hampton, which are really where you see that the facilities and services offerings are being designed to enhance efficiency and drive bottom line and profitability for the owner as much as possible. Where we are today in Asia Pacific, we have 249 trading hotels and almost double of the number of trading hotels in our pipeline.
But unfortunately, we're not in Cambodia yet.
So now Chris will talk a little bit more about development in Cambodia.
So I just wanted to, again, use Cambodia as the Hilton example to come back to this old brand, new brand. So I come to Cambodia and I sit down with developers, potential owners, to discuss their project and which brand they might like for their project. And I think the first thing, just from our perspective, is always how do we enter a market? And we'll always consider entering the market first in the primary destinations, which in the case of Cambodia, of course, is Phnom Penh, Siem Reap, and potentially Sihanoukville at the rate that it's growing. Then the next step is really to look at the full service versus focused service brands. And again, here we have full service brands and focused service. So we would like to enter with a full service brand, which is enables us to provide adequate operational support to ensure the success of the property individually. And then once we have that in a primary destination, then we can move to all sorts of different destinations with all sorts of different brands. But already now, when we look at the full service brands that we would have available to enter into the Cambodian market, usually the discussion I have with owners, they always want to go to the traditional brand. They always they just want Hilton. Maybe they know Doubletree, but they really just prefer Hilton. And what we always say from our perspective, the success of the property will be about deploying the right brand in the right location with the right partner. And I think the moral of this whole presentation or story is that this should actually be the focus as well for an owner. And we really need to look at what the market wants and not necessarily what we think might be right or a brand that we know from maybe our grandfather's times and so on. And here, just an example, even with the DoubleTree by Hilton brand, a full-service brand, that Wen mentioned, has been around since the 1960s. So it's an old brand, but yes, new to this part of the world. And if we look, before 2010, there were almost no properties, but the growth was very fast. And so I think, when you decide to open a hotel and to brand it, I think you also need to consider trusting, the management company, in that they know what they're doing, they're listening to the market, they have their hands on the pulse of the market, and are deploying brands for the right reasons. And it's mainly because they're giving customers what they want. And the most important thing, and this is something that a lot of people don't believe, is that behind the scenes, absolutely everything is the same. So the sales and marketing distribution support you receive, whether you're a Hilton owner or you're a Hilton Garden Inn owner or you're a True by Hilton owner, is exactly the same. The operational support, the actual people are usually even the same. So you really, you're set up to win, whether you're going with the traditional brand or the new brand, the alternative brand. And so, to conclude, I think that what owners should really consider is, what is the right brand for my project in this location, and who's the right partner? Because Hilton might not be the right partner. Maybe it's Envision that's the right partner. But those are really the considerations that you should be making, rather than saying, in 1985, I stayed at the Hilton in LA and I really liked it. Are there any questions? Mauro? You wanted me to talk about the robot, Connie? So our robot, our founder is Conrad Hilton, but we named the robot after him. We call him Connie.
What's your vision about Cambodia? Are you guys serious to start to roll through Hilton here? Because I've been searching and last time I had pandemic. So what's the vision?
So my colleagues and especially my boss asked me the same question. I was on the app the other day and I couldn't find a Hilton in Cambodia. I think that the presentation that we had earlier from the Deputy Minister of Tourism really says it all. I mean, the numbers say it all. The opportunity is here and now, and groups like ourselves and others, bringing international products of international standard, helping owners reach standards and specifications that can accommodate that international traveler. That will only help further induce demand, and especially bringing in brands, whether old or new, but again catering to a wider market segment. Will again just help fuel that growth further, and really turn that into an exponential growth. So I think we're very positive both on the leisure side as well as business side. I think leisure, the numbers speak for themselves, still very much leisure-driven, natural, cultural destinations. But there's a lot more happening and a lot more to be tapped into. But also the business travel, we shouldn't forget about him. So as we always say that the business travel demand comes in tandem with the economic development of a city or a country. So I think as we follow those GDP growth figures, we believe the business travel will follow.
Just a personal interest. For sure, Siem Reap and Phnom Penh. How about Sihanoukville? How about some of the beach destinations? Do you think is ready on the Hilton side or a bit longer?
So I live in Thailand, and as I mentioned, I've been coming here for 12 years, and I remember visiting Sihanoukville and Ream and the islands and 10, 12 years ago, and I found it, please don't quote me, but I found it of superior beauty to some of the destinations we have in the Gulf of Thailand on the Thai side. And I think the big challenge now with the development of Sihanoukville and surroundings will be ensuring sustainable development, because we need the repeat visitor. And if the experience is busy and potentially, from an environmental point of view, let's say dirty, people won't come back. And I think that's, and the question is always, there's always a question of carrying capacity. So we build a lot of hotels, can the infrastructure support it? Do we have enough electricity that's uninterrupted? Do we have, water and sanitation and so on to support all this tourism? And I think, there's this concept now of over-tourism, which we're seeing in other countries around the world or other destinations. Barcelona, where I grew up, is affected by this. And, the infrastructure cannot support it, and the local population starts to push back. So I think there's the risk there, but beyond Seattle, there's still beautiful beaches all the way up the coast. So I think there's huge potential there. The question is always the access.
Thank you. I need one time to stop. I can keep asking you questions the whole day, but I think we need to move on.
Yeah, thank you, Christian and Gwen, for your presentation.